Phil Stutz, Jonah Hill did a documentary on it called Stutz, talks about this thing called life force, which he describes it as the energy that animates us, the vitality that allows us to engage fully with our lives and our work. And when that force is strong, we feel present and available. We're more curious, we're more generous, and somehow we're kind of like more ourselves, if that's even an idea you can get around. And when it's depleted, everything can begin to feel a little heavier and a little more like effortful. And as I was watching, I found myself thinking about our work as practitioners. Because over the years, I've seen people with extraordinarily, fabulous intellectual property really struggle to create much impact. And I've seen people who have comparatively simpler ideas create a remarkable connection with the people around them. And I don't think the difference is simply content, experience, or confidence. More and more, I think it has something to do with the quality of energy they bring into the room. And I reckon in the age of AI, this is super important, right? When your content can be generated by Claude or chat, you've got to realize that part of the experience is what it is to experience you with your content. The message is the messenger. And I think in yourname.com businesses, personal branding businesses like ours, your energy is not separate from your work. It becomes part of the offering itself. People are certainly interested in your models and frameworks, and they may eventually engage with your programs and products. But before any of that, they experience something more immediate, maybe something more essential. They experience what it is like to be with you. They kind of notice your presence, and they sense whether you're interested and engaged. They feel whether you are alive to your work or simply delivering it. Now, you and I have probably both had the experience of sitting with someone who left us feeling more optimistic, more capable, or somehow more awake to possibility. Equally, we've all spent time with people who seem to drain the energy from a room. And neither of those experiences have much to do with intellectual property. For years in our speakership work, we've taught the idea of state over script. Preparation, how you prepare matters and structure matters, but the state in which you deliver it amplifies or diminishes anything that follows. And the same words can land really differently depending on the energy from which they're spoken. And lately, I've been wondering whether state over script is not simply a lesson in speaking, but a lesson in how you run your practice. Perhaps people buy your state before they buy your strategy. Perhaps they trust your presence before they trust your proposition. And perhaps they experience your energy long before they understand your ideas. And if that's true, I think it is, then our responsibility as practitioners extends beyond creating better products and more elegant frameworks. We also need to become students of our own life force and pay attention to the conditions under which we come most fully alive. And for some of us, that means moving our bodies more often, sleeping a little longer, spending more time outside. For others, it means protecting time to think, reading things that stretch our minds, or creating more space between one commitment and the next. And for many of us, it means reconnecting with the things that nourish our spirit, like stillness, gratitude, friendship, purpose, contribution. And none of these things are separate from our work, particularly in a practice. They're part of the ecology that allows our work to have impact. The practitioners I admire most are not necessarily the most informed or the most articulate. They are often the people who seem deeply connected to themselves and deeply interested in others. There's a vitality about them that is difficult to measure, but it's impossible to miss. And I think that perhaps that's what Stutz means by life force. And looking after it is perhaps not merely an act of self-care. Perhaps it's one of the responsibilities that comes with building a practice around who we are and how we serve. So 3 questions come to mind. Ask ourselves these and journal on them. Where in my work do I feel most alive? What activities and relationships strengthen my life force, and which ones quietly diminish it? And if my energy is one of my products, what would it look like to kind of care for it as deliberately as I care and shape my expertise? As always, if you'd like some help getting your ideas out into the world, maybe it's time to join our business school. We've got a new program called The Third Choice coming up. It's a 6-week program, and it's a really good preparatory program for the school. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a future con.